evening, Placerville. Welcome to the Placerville City Council. I'd like to call the meeting to order. It is August 27th, 2013. I'd like to officially welcome you to the regular City Council meeting of the Placerville City Council. Please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have a good-looking crowd here tonight. And Ms. Zito, would you please give the roll call?
Certainly, Mayor. Councilmember Borelli. Here. Vice Mayor Hagan.
Here.
Councilmember Patton.
Here.
Mayor Thomas.
Here. Thank you.
Councilmember Wilkins is noted as absent.
Thank you. With that, we're on item 3, a very exciting item. And Mr. Morris, I will turn it over to you to do the honors.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. It's my pleasure tonight to introduce, we have made the final appointment of our new police chief, Scott Heller, who is in our audience tonight. Just briefly about Scott, I'll mention a couple of things and we'll have more time to get to know him better later. But he graduated from high school in the Bay Area. Shortly after that, joined the Air Force, where he served for 4 years during Operation Desert Shield, Desert Storm. Was awarded the Commendation Medal for meritorious service, excuse me. I knew I was going to blow this, and was honorably discharged. Then he went on to college, where he got a bachelor's degree in political science and a master's of science in emergency services administration. Since then, he started his career with the city of Modesto in 1997, where he has worked since that time, and worked his way up through the ranks there. Is currently a lieutenant with the city of Modesto Police Department. He's got a lot of experience working in the city of Modesto, almost in every facet of police work you can imagine. He has all of his post certificates up through management, intermediate, advanced, and supervisory training. He's a great guy. I've enjoyed getting to know him a little bit during the recruitment process. As those of you on the council and some of the staff know, we ran a fairly extensive recruitment process that we put our candidates through. And Scott came out at the top of that, and I'm very happy to report. One thing I just wanted to mention, going through as you know, for a police officer, there's a lot of background investigation, et cetera, they have to go through. And through all that process, one thing that really impressed me, the investigators in all phases, when they came back to me and talked to me, said that we made an excellent choice, that they were really impressed with Scott and what he has done. So with that, introduce Scott Heller. Scott, if you'd like to say a few words, we're very happy to have you here. He will be starting next Tuesday, September 3rd, and we'll have him hit the ground running. So, Scott.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. I'll keep it real short. I'm very honored and humbled to be here, and I appreciate the opportunity. I look forward to building strong relationships with the community, within the department, with the other department heads, with the council, et cetera, and move forward and move the department forward, the city forward, and to improve the quality of life as best as I can here in Placerville. So I look forward to it. I'm excited, and I just want to get started come next Tuesday. So thank you.
On behalf of the council, Chief Heller, just would like to welcome you to Placerville. We're absolutely delighted you're here, and we look forward to welcoming your family into ours. And as City Manager Morris mentioned, there was really tough competition for our new police chief. We had many very, very qualified people, and Chief Heller was our #1 pick, and so we're delighted that it worked out for you as well. And just your experience and your background and your heart for community will be a tremendous blessing to us. And you will find that you are inheriting an incredible police force who are dedicated and passionate about our community, and you will enjoy working with the men and women of the Placerville Police Force, and as I know, they will greatly benefit from your experience as well. So we welcome you to Placerville, and we are all available to you to help you and your family feel at home, and we thank you for joining the Placerville family.
Thank you.
Any other council members have anything they'd like to add?
Just ditto.
Did you have something, City Manager Morse? Okay, all right. Well, welcome. Have a safe trip back to Modesto, and we'll see you on Tuesday, bright and early. With that, we have the closed session report. City Attorney Driscoll.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Tonight, the council did not take reportable action in closed session.
Thank you. Adoption of the agenda. Are there any changes, corrections?
Move for the adoption.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Borelli, seconded by Vice Mayor Hagan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Agenda is adopted. With that, we move on to another exciting ceremonial matter. We have a local boy who is joining the Placerville Police Force and would like to invite Luke Godow to join us for his oath of office.
If you'll raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter. Congratulations.
I think it's just wonderful that Officer Godow is a graduate of El Dorado High School, so he knows our community. Yes, yay, go. He knows our community, and I know you'll be a tremendous asset to protect and serve this community that you've grown up in. So welcome to the Placerville Police Force. We're delighted you're here. So, yes, we'll take a 5-minute break to take pictures and to greet our new officer.
Congratulations again.
Thank you, Placerville Police, for coming. We're going to go ahead and get started now. That's always a pleasure to welcome people to our force, and seeing the show of support from the men and women of the Placerville Police Force is always heartwarming. So thank you for their support. With that, we are on item 6.2, proclamation declaring the month of September 2013 as Prostate Cancer Awareness Month, and we will present or forward the proclamation to Mr. Richard Montgomery. And with that, we come to item 7, public comment. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons wishing to address the council on any matter not on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. State law prohibits the council from acting on items not listed on the agenda, and when we get to oral communications, we ask that you come forward, state your name for the record, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes. But before I open up public comment, is there any written communication?
None tonight, Mayor.
Thank you, City Manager Morris. And with that, I will open public comment. Anyone wishing to address the council, please come forward. Seeing none, I will close public comment. And with that, we are on item 8 of the consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion by roll call vote unless any member of the council wishes to remove an item for discussion. And I know that we do have a change. I'd like to pull item 8.11 because I know we have a change to that. Is there any other member of the council that wishes to pull an item for further discussion?
Move consent with the exception of 8.1.
Okay. All right, it has been moved by Vice Mayor Hagan and seconded by Councilmember Patton, but before we get to that, does any member of the public wish to comment on any item on the consent calendar? Please state your name for the record. Good evening.
Good evening, Sue Rodman. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, I have 3 items I'd like to comment on. 8.5, a new portable light tower, and I'm wondering what the purpose of the light tower is. And 8.6, and a ultra mini camera, and I'm wondering what the purpose for that is. And then 8.8 for the sidewalk that goes up Thompson Way. I would just like to comment that they did an outstandingly great job, and it's being much safer for children walking to school now.
Okay. Any other member of the public wishing to comment on item? All right, with that, I will close public comment. May we answer those questions on the purpose of...
Steve can do
I'd
that.
be happy to, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much, Mr. Yule.
First of all, the purchase of a portable light tower, we currently do not have one, and this piece of equipment will enable us to respond to emergencies that happen at nighttime, both sewer and water. And also it will enable us to do some work that is better done when the traffic loads are lighter. For example, some of our painting that needs to be done, we won't have to have quite as much traffic control, and it'll be safer for our guys. So right now we don't have one, and so that really compromises our ability to react to service calls because we have to wait until we can get the proper lighting in place to keep our men safe on the road. So that's the need for the light tower. The camera is a tool that is used extensively to ascertain what our problems really are within our sewer system primarily. And it's also indicative in our sewer system management plan that we record the condition of our lines. It's mandated, and so we need to have this piece of equipment to get a digital recording of the integrity of our system. So that's a mandate that we need. We have an old camera that it can't record to meet our new standards that we're set with. And we're still going to keep that backup camera. So if we have 2 crews that are out, we can still use it. So it still will have a function, and we'll keep it on hand. But we need to keep up with the new technology.
Thank you for clarifying that, Mr. Yule. And with that, we have a motion on the floor. So, Ms. Zito, may we have the roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Borelli?
Yes. Aye.
Vice Mayor Hagan?
Aye.
Councilmember Patton?
Aye.
Mayor Thomas?
Aye, thank you. And with that, we're on item 9.1, and at this point, I do need to recuse myself. I own a piece of commercial property that is within 300 feet of one of the properties under this entitlement section, and so I would turn the meeting over to Vice Mayor Hagan.
All right, this time I'd like to call Mr. Rivas to inform us about 9.1.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Hagan. On August 13th, the City Council, upon recommendation of the Planning Commission, introduced and waived the first reading of the ordinance amending the City Code. This will be an amendment that would extend for 24 months all site plan reviews, variances, and conditional use permits that would have not have expired as of April 1st of 2013 and will expire before January 1st of 2014. This is the, basically staff is recommending that you waive the second reading of the ordinance that amends this section of the county code relating to time extensions from land use entitlements and adopt said ordinance. Once adopted, the ordinance would become effective in 30 days. And that concludes staff's report. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of staff this time? Okay. Any questions from the audience, this particular item?
I live in Placerville. What is the ordinance you're trying to propose?
Well, what we're doing is that we're extending, Mr. Rivas can answer that. If you go ahead and have a seat.
Yeah.
Is that the only question?
Well, at this point, yeah. I was just curious why.
Well, come on up if you've got any additional questions on the same item, and finish your questions, and we'll answer them all at the end.
Okay. Well, the only question is, what is the ordinance pertain to?
Okay.
That's you say ordinance number so and so, and I haven't looked at your agenda or your to know what it's about. It's all.
Okay. Good. Thank you. Any additional questions? Would you
Yes,
respond?
I can certainly respond to that question. Basically, the city code allows for a 24-month period following approval of certain land use entitlements, those being site plan reviews, conditional use permits, and variances. So in other words, if an applicant comes in and obtains approval, you have 24 months in which to implement the project, either pulling a building permit or some other measure that means that you're acting upon that approval. If the 24 months expires and there's been no activity, then the permit would expire. But due to the economy, the City Council felt that it was prudent to go ahead and extend these permits. We've been doing so. I believe this is the third time now that the Council has granted an extension for these types of permits.
Thank you. Yes. Any?
Pierre, do you have an idea of how many this relates back to, how many projects this actually touches?
Staff actually prepared a list of the projects that would be affected by this ordinance, and I'm looking through the file trying to find that list.
Okay, thank you.
Did you have?
Approximately 12 applications would be affected, give or take one.
Any additional questions? It's time to call for the motion.
I make a motion that we waive the second reading as requested of by staff, or waive the second reading, right? And adopt the ordinance as written.
Second.
Okay. Ms. Zito, would you call, do we need to call for the vote on this, or just verbal, okay?
In this
Okay.
case, because the recusal might be helpful.
Yes.
Councilmember Borelli,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Hagan,
Aye.
Councilmember Patton,
Aye.
Mayor Thomas is noted as a recusal, and Councilmember Wilkins is noted as an absent.
Thank you. At this time, we're on to park regulations, so we're going to call the mayor back in to handle this. Unless there's anything else you guys want me to rush past her.
That was quick, thank you very much. Item 9.2, the park ordinance. Look forward to visiting this again. Mr. Yule.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A revised draft Parks Ordinance was presented by staff to City Council on July 9th. City Council was in favor of the proposed revisions, but asked that the Recreation and Parks Commission revisit two conditions within the ordinance. The first condition was in regards to the supervision of animals within parks. The second was related to the possession of firearms. City Council also recommended that the city's portion of the El Dorado Trail be excluded from the ordinance. At the July 17th Recreation and Parks Commission meeting, the following revisions were unanimously recommended for submittal to City Council and have been incorporated into the draft ordinance before you tonight. In regards to supervision of animals, the proposed language is any person who enters the park with any animal in that person's charge shall not allow such animal to stray or run at large. Dogs shall be maintained on a leash and be properly licensed and vaccinated. In response to firearms, no person shall possess, discharge, or shoot any firearm, bow and arrow, lawn darts, slingshot, wrist rocket, air gun, paintball gun, or any device that shoots or propels a projectile, fireworks, combustible powered projectiles, or any other such device potentially harmful to park visitors and park property. It shall be unlawful to possess or fire any firecracker or fireworks in a city park. This provision shall not apply to anyone possessing a valid California concealed weapons permit. The proposed firearms language makes reference to a concealed weapons permit. It's staff's opinion that it may be in the city's best interest to strike the last sentence and remain silent on the possession of a valid concealed weapons permit. Although no official stance was taken on other conditions within the draft ordinance, the Recreation and Parks Commission, by general consensus, was in favor of the following edits that have been incorporated into the draft ordinance. Rules specific to the El Dorado Trail should be established independently from the park ordinance, and therefore, the El Dorado Trail should not be designated as a park. We also suggested the condensed language pertaining to bicycles to read as follows. Bicycles may be used along paved walkways, sidewalks, parking lots, or where signage indicates use is permitted. Anyone riding a bicycle within any park facility shall not ride it in such a manner that threatens to or injures persons, animals, or property. Condensed language regarding skateboards is also recommended. Riding skateboards, rollerblades, roller skates, and scooters is allowed only in areas posted with signage to designate such use. Anyone riding within any park facility shall not ride in such a manner that threatens to or injures persons, animals, or property. I'd just like to say that on behalf of the City of Placerville Recreation and Parks Commission, we thank you, City Council, for the opportunity to provide input, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have about our recommendation.
Thank you so much, Mr. Yule. Does the council have any questions for staff at this point? Councilmember Patton, would you like to start?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do have a question regarding the items 2 and 3 on the potential conditions as it pertains to bicycles and skateboards, rollerblades. Would there be a chance maybe just to combine those two together? Is there a reason that the bicycles have a separate line? I mean, it appears to me that they're similar uses. They should be able to be in the same rural category, if you will.
Yeah, I don't foresee any problem with combining them, other than mountain bikes may be on a dirt trail as opposed to a sidewalk or.
Well, the signage would be indicated even for mountain bikes, right?
Right.
Okay. That would be my only input. And I like the idea of not having any language regarding the concealed weapons permit.
Councilmember Borelli.
No comment.
Okay. Vice Mayor Hagan.
None.
Okay. Before we make any final comments, I'd like to open it up to the public. If they would like to weigh in on this issue, please come forward to the podium, state your name for the record. Good evening.
Yes, my name again is Larry Robinson. Live here in Placerville, 7th generation Shingle Spring person. I'd like to ask why the city council believes that they should make ruling on firearms when we have laws here in this city already that tell us what we can and can't do with firearms. There's been a lot of controversy in the last couple of years since a few things have happened in this country, and I would like to know why the city feels it important to make their own rules about city parks. Have you had any trouble with people bringing firearms into your parks? Is this just a way to interim make new laws, pass them around, because, in this country, how about you folks, but I'd like to be able to pack my gun when I feel it's necessary for me or for my family or whatever, and to make an ordinance, how many people would even know that you had that ordinance? You'd have a sign up saying there's an ordinance about not bringing firearms, and people wouldn't even know that. And how does the public know that you're even doing this right now? Other than you put a little posting out here on the building and maybe post something in the newspaper that most people don't even read anymore because all it is gossip. If I hadn't been here tonight, I would have not known that you were doing this. I had no idea. And I have a personal problem with people trying to take away my amendment rights. And that's what you're here doing tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. We'll get some clarity on this after public comment. Good evening.
Good evening, Michael Drobish, Placerville, speaking as a citizen. Congratulations on this version. It's much cleaner, concise, much shorter. So congratulations on that. You did a good job. I'd still like to see park opening 1 hour before sunrise, just because the chance of hoodlums being out at that hour is much lower, and somebody could legally jog in the park if they wanted to, if you'd consider that. I support the banning of smoking in full at Benham City Park, and I'm a smoker. But it's such a tiny park, there is no way they can be compatible enough where other people's rights aren't being affected. So, and there are other parks they can go to if they have to. And then section F6, the firearms, I find it humorous. If reading it, I don't know if anyone else read it that way, but it looks to me like the CCW holder has free reign to use lawn darts, paintball guns, fireworks, but I doubt they would. So anyway, thank you for allowing the CCW holders to, freely use their rights. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Drobish. Good evening.
Good evening, Evelyn Veerkamp. I have been a one-issue person on this ordinance. I remain a one-issue person on this ordinance. Having said that, I would simply like to thank the Parks and Rec Commission for the openness of their meeting, the inclusivity of their meeting, and I rest my case. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Veerkamp. Would anyone else like to speak to this? Hello again.
Hello, Sue Rodman, Placerville resident. I think it is much improved from the first time we saw this, that's for sure. I think what we have can be implemented now, and it will serve to improve the management for our parks. I would agree with just strike the business about concealed weapons. It's already a federal law. We don't need to repeat what's already in the law. I would hope that the signage that we put up doesn't have to include the entire ordinance, especially the last part of it, or we'll end up with a 4x8 sign in all the parks. So I hope that when we get down to the signage, we can make something that's a little shorter. And but I think this is a much improved version.
Thank you, Ms. Rodman. All right. With that, we'll close public comment and bring it back to the council. And actually, before we bring it back to the council for further discussion, City Attorney Driscoll, could you please answer the firearm issue that Mr. Robinson had? Kind of explain what that's saying.
Local jurisdictions, cities and counties, let me preface that by saying much of the law relating to firearms has been preempted by the state.
Can you be very,
And the state has several statutes dealing with possession of firearms, whether you can carry a loaded firearm in a city, whether you can carry a loaded, different places where you can carry a loaded firearm or a firearm in general, and certainly has laws pertaining to concealed weapons. However, the one area that the courts have said local jurisdictions, that is cities and counties, still have the power to regulate firearms on their property, that is within their buildings and on their property. There was a case in the I want to say 2004, 2005, coming out of Alameda County that held that proposition. So the city has the ability to regulate whether or not people can have firearms on city property. We can't do it anywhere else in the city, but we can do it there. The rest of it is preempted by state law. So that would be my answer to the gentleman's question. And I think that the comments made regarding the reference to concealed weapons are appropriate. That's surplusage. The state law provides for what people who have a concealed weapons permit can and can't do, so we don't need to reiterate that in there. And would urge the council to consider striking that last sentence.
So to clarify, this provision in our ordinance does not take away an American's right to carry a concealed weapon with a proper permit.
Exactly.
Per state law.
Exactly. Nor does it affect their ability to have a weapon on their possession, as long as they're within state law,
Right.
anywhere else, or certainly in their residence or anywhere else.
Right. All right. Thank you for clarifying that. All right. We'll start to my left, Vice Mayor Hagan, for discussion.
No, I'm ready to make a motion, but if you'd like, but if there's other questions.
A few more comments. Hold on.
Okay.
Hold your horses there. Councilmember Borelli.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? No, I don't have anything except the go back to the firearm thing. I think it's a personal thing with me. I know it's a personal thing. I just can't understand why somebody would need a gun to go to a park where there's little kids. So, but, you know, I understand all the laws. I've heard from everybody, but that's just my opinion.
Thank you. Councilmember Patton.
I would just encourage the council, I kind of had forgotten about what Michael Brodrovich had asked for about the hour before sunrise, and maybe instead of making it be a half hour, just strike that on page 1, item B, to be 1 hour after sunset and 1 hour before sunrise.
Okay.
I think that, just for clarity's sake, and I think 1 hour is perfectly legitimate for.
All right. Great.
I would like to comment on that, assuming we don't have to have somebody come in there and open it up and so forth. So,
Oh, that's right.
I mean, the
We
opening
do.
of the parks.
We do. Yeah.
We do.
Yeah.
So,
So what does that mean? We still have to have them open a half hour before sunrise, so, I mean, we're talking about, I don't know.
it's 2 more hour, an hour, extra hour and a
It's
half
an
a day.
extra hour to get somebody
Time you
out
get somebody
Get
out there
some
to
staff.
go open all the parks. So, I don't,
I don't foresee it being too problematic, but we do open and close gates.
okay.
So
But,
I
I
think
mean,
we could do it either way. We could still,
doesn't mean that-
we could accommodate.
Most of those that, correct me if I'm wrong, most of the time are part-time staff we have designated to open and close.
That's correct. In the
And so
morning,
we can
typically,
designate when to do
we're we'll be here in time to do that with our park staff, but in the evenings, it's typically our janitorial people that do that for us.
We can do it. Okay.
Okay. And the final comments, is there anything else, Councilmember Patton? All right. The final comments that I have is I am in full agreement that we need to strike that last sentence on the firearm provision, because it does make it seem like it's a free-for-all if you have a California concealed weapons permit. So that I agree with staff's direction on that. And I'd just like to reiterate, and I'd like to thank the public for weighing in on this issue. This is very much a group effort, and we appreciate your active participation on this, and especially the Park and Recs Commission. You've done an amazing job taking direction from council, from the public, from staff, and you've spent an inordinate amount of time, and the city staff for doing the same. So really appreciate everyone's input. And with that, Vice Mayor Hagan, would you like to make a motion?
I just move that we adopt the motion with the changes mentioned, the opening and closing an hour before.
Excuse me. The action tonight would be to introduce the ordinance and motion to waive the reading.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
With those changes I just mentioned, and the combining of items, paragraphs 2 and 3 regarding bikes and other modes of transportation. So with that, I'll make the waiver of, make the motion that we waive the first reading and introduce this new ordinance with those
second
corrections.
that.
It's been moved by Vice Mayor Hagan, seconded by Councilmember Patton. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So thank you again. And with that, we come to item 10. It's a public hearing, item 10.1. And once again, I will turn this over to our esteemed Vice Mayor. I sit on the board of Marshall Hospital and therefore need to recuse myself.
The guy that's supposed to do this is not here tonight, Andrew Painter, but I assume his boss is going to introduce this and tell us all about it. Mr. Ravaz.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Hagan. I'd like to start by characterizing the two staff reports that you have before you. You should have a staff report that's dated today's date, August the 27th, and then the previous staff report dated August the 13th. Just to explain the reason for some of the changes, just in brief, subsequent to the council's continuation of this item from the August 13th date, we discovered there were some discrepancies between the official general plan and zoning maps and the GIS, the Geographical Information Maps. And so we found that the particular, the parcel that's bisected by Washington Street, the parcel that will have the improvements, that being the 51 parking lot for Marshall Hospital, was split zoned. And so since that portion that lies westerly, or actually easterly, is unaffected, these changes then that are being provided to you will have no effect on your decision, have no effect on the environmental document or anything else. So what we did was provide you with an errata, if you will, of the corrected resolution, the corrected ordinance, and we also then also corrected the appropriate pages within the environmental assessment and initial study as far as, you know, the general plan designation and the zone districts, just for clarification, but it doesn't affect anything. So for the most part, I'm going to be referring then to the previous staff report dated August the 13th, but when you take your action to adopt the or if you would choose to adopt the resolution and the ordinances, it'll be the corrected versions then in the staff report dated August the 27th. I hope that's not confusing, but I wanted just to throw that out.
Just hang in there with us. We might need you again.
Okay. So let me start by characterizing the project. Basically, you have a number of applications before you. We have, just in general, you have a general plan amendment for a number of properties as outlined in the staff report. You also have a rezone. You also have a conditional use permit then to authorize the parking lot. And then you have a site plan review for the parking lot, all required by the city code. For clarity, we provided you figure 1 in your staff report. I'm going to use my laser pointer. There's a large version of figure 1 behind you. And we've divided up the project into 4 sub-areas. So you have sub-area 1 up here, then you have sub-area 2, sub-area 3, and sub-area 3 is the main parcel or main area of interest. That's where the proposed parking lot and most of the improvements are going to be, and then sub-area 4. And I'm going to, I have some notes here to briefly go over exactly what is going on, which within each of those 4 sub-areas. In sub-area 1, that will involve a general plan amendment from medium-density residential to business professional, and will also involve a rezone from residential R16 to business professional. No physical improvements are proposed within sub-area 1. That comprises the existing medical center campus and a parking lot. In sub-area 2 is also not per se, not part of the physical component of the project or of Marshall Hospital. So this is the site of the existing El Dorado Care Center, and the Care Center elected to be included in the general plan amendment and rezone. So for this particular property then, it would include a general plan amendment from medium density residential to business professional, and a rezone from residential R16 to business professional. Also within sub-area 2, and this is as a result of the conditions applied for Marshall Hospital building the parking lot, is there will be improvements to Washington Street, and that'll include sidewalks all along the west side. Encroachment will also be, they will also be doing encroachments, 3 encroachments. So there'll be a new encroachment then provided for the existing El Dorado Care Center, and then 2 additional encroachments for existing houses that are along Washington Street. In sub-area 3 is the site of the new parking lot comprising 51 spaces. It's also for the conditional use permit and site plan review for this satellite remote lot, thus the need for the conditional use permit because it's not contiguous to the campus. It includes landscaping, and I want to highlight that in regards to landscaping, the item was considered by the Planning Commission, and they wanted some additional signature trees, so we'll be looking at replacing some of the trees as recommended by the Planning Commission. This area also includes a general plan amendment from medium density residential to business professional, and also includes a rezone from residential R16 to business professional, and this is on the west side only. The eastern half being correctly is low density residential and has a residential zone district of R120, and that will not change. In sub-area 4, we're just here we're just going to see some physical improvements only. Sub-area 4 is known as the Carla Kingsley property, and it's in a trust. Basically, the only improvements here will be some storm drainage improvements to carry water to be adequately conveyed through this property to the main drainage improvements, and also to replace a water line. That is the Kingsley house is served by a private lateral that comes off of Washington, and so what Marshall is going to do is, since that line would fall under the proposed parking lot, they're going to move that along the property line. There is no general plan amendment or rezone proposed for sub-area 4, so this parcel remains as is. One of the primary issues that came out from the Planning Commission were the potential traffic effects at the intersections of Cedar Ravine and Pacific Street and Cedar Ravine and Washington Street. And what staff is proposing that 3 months, should this be approved, 3 months following development of the parking lot, then the engineering will conduct some additional studies and determine if warrants are necessary for installation of stop signs. But as of now, the warrants do not exist for stop signs, and so that is not something that we can impose on Marshall. We have the city engineer, Mr. Stong, here that can answer more technical questions about what's involved in warrants and what we would do in terms of the traffic counts should those questions arise later. But I'd like to move on then to staff's recommendation. Staff is recommending that you adopt the staff's report, including all exhibits and figures as part of the public record. And that would include the exhibits and figures contained in the staff report that have been shown to be corrected through underline and strikeout. Make the following findings with respect to the mitigated negative declaration prepared for the project, and adopt the mitigated negative declaration prepared for the project, and we have 2 findings there in your staff report. Item 3, make the findings for respect to the general plan amendment and zone change, and you have 2 findings there, as listed on your August 13th staff report. 4, adopt a resolution approving the general plan amendment for the request for the land use amendment from medium-density residential to low-density to business professional to the parcels listed. Item 5, introduce and waive the first reading of an ordinance involving changing the zoning map designation as articulated in your staff report. 6, make the following findings with respect to the conditional use permit and the site plan review authorizing construction of the parking lot. And you have items 1 through 6. And then item 7, conditionally approve the conditional use permit and site plan review subject to the conditions of approval contained in the staff's report as Exhibit E. And with that, that concludes staff's report. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have at this time.
Any questions, Ms. Patton? Or Borelli?
I'm surprised at the findings for the Pacific Street, Cedar Ravine, and the findings, because I think that's been an issue on other things that we've talked about, and the need to do something with that, and what a bottleneck that is, especially when school gets out or when it's going, and I'm surprised that it hasn't been part of this, that we're going to wait and see what happens. I don't know what we're waiting for because it's a mess now.
Mr. Strong, could you answer the traffic question? That seems to be the...
Well, actually, the inclusion of Cedar Ravine and Pacific was there as something that we are going to look at anyway with the Clay Street project.
Correct.
And it wasn't analyzed with this project. What the intent was is to say that the warrants do not exist for Washington and Cedar Ravine. However,
I'm sorry, they don't exist for what?
Washington Street and Cedar Ravine.
Okay.
That's the project intersection of study. That's what we were looking at with this project.
Okay,
Just
then
Washington
maybe
and
I
Cedar
missed,
Ravine.
okay, because Pierre, really, I got lost in what you were talking about, and I thought that that's what I heard you say, something about Cedar Ravine, Pacific Street being, what is it that you're waiting 3 months to see what happens? I missed that part.
Well, with just Washington, so again, and I did hear Pierre say that too, but this project only looked at the Washington Street and Cedar Ravine intersection, and it does not meet current warrants for an all-way stop. And if you look at the trip generations and the traffic expected for the parking lot, it still would not meet warrants. So the recommendation is not to install an all-way stop there. However, we are looking at, with the Clay Street project, improvements at Cedar Ravine and Pacific,
Okay.
and that's out a ways. To do our traffic counts, you want to be outside of the school year, or no, during the school year. So at that time, we're in school, so we can do some traffic counts. Or no, I've got that backwards. We have to wait until school is out.
Oh, we do have to wait till?
Right.
Oh.
So
I don't understand that. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
So Pacific and Cedar Ravine is something that we are planning to look at with the Clay Street project. And so while we're doing that, we can look at Cedar Ravine and Washington Street. That was the point of saying that we will look at it. But it's not currently meeting warrants, Washington Street and Cedar Ravine, and it's not projected to meet warrants.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Carol?
Well, maybe we can come back to that, but when Marshall Hospital first did the expansion and we talked about a left turn pocket just on Main Street, what about a left turn pocket or some other type of traffic management other than an always stop sign at either Marshall and Cedar Ravine or Washington and Cedar Ravine? I mean, if the only thing you're looking at is a stop sign, is that what the only thing we're going to be studying is, does it meet the requirements for a stop sign?
Yes, the traffic anticipated from this project is minimal. As far as adding turn pockets?
Correct.
Yeah, I don't see the operational issues currently at Washington and Cedar Ravine. And then you mentioned a turn pocket on Main Street?
Main Street and, Main Street, or, I'm sorry, Cedar Ravine and Pacific Street. I said Marshall Way, but there's already a left turn pocket there. But at Pacific Street and Cedar Ravine, and a left turn pocket to get the hospital, or, you know, I don't know, I'm just saying, my point is, are you looking at other solutions other than just a stop sign, an always stops?
At other intersections?
Correct.
Along Cedar Ravine?
At even those 2 points, Washington and Cedar Ravine, and Pacific and Cedar Ravine? Are you looking at something other than just always stops?
The intersection of Washington Street and Cedar Ravine does not have any current operational issues.
Okay.
And so, no, we weren't looking at adding any turn pockets or other traffic control devices there, other than the always stop issue was raised by the public. They were concerned about speeding and wanted to see something implemented there. As far as other intersections, they weren't analyzed. There is an operational issue with Pacific and Cedar Ravine. That's true. And with the Clay Street project, we'll be making improvements at that intersection.
All right.
Yeah, Nate, in the past, when we were looking at Washington Street and Cedar Ravine, we did look at the potential of putting a bulb out so that doesn't it doesn't act as a slingshot, if you will, straight from the downhill to the uphill. And there have been a couple of accidents on Washington, I believe, in that close vicinity. And I know at one time a prior traffic engineer suggested that we look at the possibility of bulbing out that. So if we do look at that stop sign, would it be possible that in that you also consider other traffic mitigation issues to slow traffic as it enters Washington? I'm not concerned about the through traffic on Cedar Ravine. I understand the reason for not putting a stop sign there. People would stop and they just speed up to the next stop sign. But I am concerned about that sweeping turn, and it does kind of act like a sling through, and rather than an opportunity for a yield sign or something like that. So I mean, it would seem to me you'd want to look at stop, yield, and other possibilities for that interchange or intersection.
I tend to agree that shortening up that radius northbound Cedar Ravine to Washington would be a good idea.
Okay. I mean, as long as we're over there doing some work, it would seem like, and it's not, I don't believe that's terribly expensive to go ahead and do that at the same time. We've got the asphalt going, put a berm in, or continue a berm, if you will, and just a yield sign or something to that effect.
Shouldn't be expensive.
Okay.
I have a couple more questions too.
Yep.
Moving away from that issue, when I drove around looking at the sites, there's multiple employee parking lots held by Marshall Hospital and signed thus. And my concern is that there's already, there was numbers 1 through 11. I couldn't find them all, but I found about 7 of them. And now the idea is to add another surface lot. And my concern is, A, what's going to happen to those parking lots that are already outside, not contiguous to the campus? And then B, is there not maybe a better way to provide enough parking so that perhaps those satellite parking lots could be used for something better than more asphalt? And has Marshall Hospital made any indication what they're going to do with those parking lots that are already signed as employee parking?
The only parking lots I think that staff can address right now are the 2 known unpermitted parking lots. And so staff will have to basically enforce the code and either require them to stop using them.
It's hard to hear you.
Either stop using them as parking or come in and get those lots permitted. This is the sort of the way it was characterized to me. I think one of the issues that we've had with the Marshall Hospital campus in general is we really don't have a master plan for the hospital, and so, you know, over the years it's developed more on a piecemeal basis. And so, you know, this is parking that is required. It's for their employees. It'll be, you know, regulated. Only employees will be able to get in the parking lot and use it. It's not for the general public. And so this is a necessary parking lot for them. I think that particular question probably might be more appropriately directed to the representatives of Marshall Hospital. Could they submit a master plan or something showing maybe in their long-range projections of where they see their campus going? I think that would really help, you know, the city, our staff in trying to come up with a better solution to the parking situation. But this is what it is now, is required parking, and, you know, staff feels is the appropriate, you know, improvements to provide for what's necessary parking for the campus and their expansions.
I guess what I'm asking is, I mean, you touched on a master plan, but do we not know right now how many parking spaces Marshall has dedicated to their employees?
No,
we
staff,
don't have that.
I don't have that information.
Okay,
My
thanks.
fingertips.
All right, this time I'd like to open it up to the public for questions about this project. Please state your name for the record.
I'm the Director of Construction and Engineering at Marshall Medical Center, and I brought the civil engineers along. I just wanted to say that I might be able to answer some of the questions. I don't know if you want me to try to, or
Please.
okay. So as far as the employee parking, we do need the new lot for the employee parking. What the new lot will allow us to do is, right now you've probably seen the Marshall shuttle going back and forth. We shuttle employees from down here on by Thompson's and by the beer garden, and this new parking lot will allow us to discontinue that shuttle service, which I'm not an environmental expert, but I think that actually was an environmental benefit to not have the shuttle running and to utilize the parking lot instead, as far as smog and street congestion and all that. Unfortunately, as we know, the hospital was kind of in a residential area, and it's the hospital up on the hill with really not too much, land not as much land as we would like. So typically what happens, of course, is the employee parking gets pushed out a little bit. So that's the intent of the new parking lot, is to have employee parking there. It won't actually free up any of the 1 through 11 lots, but it will discontinue the shuttle service. So we'll still have the 1 through 11 lots. Those are actually necessary for we need those parking counts. And the engineers may be able to speak a little bit to the specific parking counts. They have more knowledge of that than I do. But if there's any other questions I could try to answer?
No, I think that's fine. And just go ahead. You have a question? Go ahead. I'm sorry. No, go ahead. Ms. Patton does.
So is there any plans for a multi-level parking structure?
There is not at this time. There was at one time, but it just was not feasible. When we did the south wing, we just could not afford the parking garage. So the parking garage has been shelled, and we've never been able really to revisit it. We just don't have the funds. I don't want to bore you with I don't want to cry poor or anything, but we're really going to have a hard time surviving healthcare reform. So we don't have any really big ticket construction projects on the board now, like the parking garage or anything like that.
Thank you.
Thanks. And did one of the engineers want to come up and indicate what we're doing in the way of replacement of parking and how much?
Sure. My name is Seth Nesbitt, representing Warren Consulting Engineers. I don't have information as to exactly how many of the parking spaces are currently slated to just employees, but in our initial count, we estimated that Marshall Hospital has approximately 558 parking spaces combined in kind of the whole area around Marshall. So this lot proposes an additional 51 spaces that would offset employees, say, from the satellite lots they use to shuttle more onto the immediate campus. So the proposed total would be 609 spaces. I'm not sure what other question you might have as far as the parking. But
Did you have any specific additional questions from an engineering standpoint?
I don't really have a question.
Okay. All right.
thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone in the public have any comments they'd like to make?
Good evening, Michael Drobish again. I would also like to see traffic slowed coming downhill from Cedar Ravine onto Washington, because with the nice roadway improvements, traffic coming from Washington towards Cedar Ravine are going to be traveling at a higher rate of speed now, whereas now it's really a single lane, and people self-control themselves. But I like the idea of the bulb out, if not a stop only for Cedar Ravine onto Washington. A bulb out closing down that radius would help to slow people down until the time that the sidewalks reach all the way to Cedar Ravine.
Thank you, Michael. Any additional comments, concerns?
Hi, I'm Carla Kingsley. I'm sub-area 4 on the
All by yourself.
I'm just here to beg again to please keep looking at the issue of the stop sign. They're coming downhill. There's a stop sign going uphill on Cedar Ravine at Washington. Well, the traffic slows anyway because they're starting that steep hill and climb all the way up to Country Club. So coming down, they really get full steam ahead on the busy times of day, and I can barely get out of my house. It's a blind curve from Washington into my house, so trying to get in and out of the driveway. I know this may affect me more than other people, but they're really bumper to bumper flying down that hill at very high speeds. And it just seems silly to have a stop for them going uphill when they're naturally slowing anyway. So just please consider it. The traffic has increased very, very much in the last 3 years. And it's getting more dangerous every day.
Thank you.
My name is Chuck Bishop, City of Placerville. I'd like to ask a question. You say you won't make a study for 3 months. Yet somebody on this council sat there and said 2 meetings ago that they ran out of gas and they had to have their family come and bring them gas, and they said that was one of the worst intersections they had ever seen. It does need to have a stop sign. You cannot see when you stop at Cedar Ravine to turn on to Washington and everything coming from Placerville, you can't see even 200 feet. And you people require 300 for people to take and turn into things. Take and put a stop sign. That's the way you'll take and slow down the people, and we'll have some success on this thing. I quit. I'm not going to say anymore.
Thank you. And then Susan Rodden, you started up here a couple of times, so.
See if I can make it this time. Okay. I was just up there before this meeting and watching the traffic that comes down that hill. And they do come way above the speed limit when they're coming downhill on Cedar Ravine towards Placerville. And I think if we're going to add 51 people going into a parking lot and expecting to come out and be able to get onto Cedar Ravine safely, I think we need that three-way stop at that corner. Just because it's not a matter of how much traffic, it's a matter of the speed that people come down that hill. They really do go. Another question I have is there adequate sidewalk lighting included in this plan? The the parking lot's a daylight only, but their 12-hour shift can go beyond daylight hours, it says in your mitigations. And it talks about having lighting that will come on in the parking lot. But is there any lighting for people who will be walking, hospital workers who will be walking from the parking lot to the hospital proper? I think that needs to be included. I didn't see it anywhere. And I think that's an additional safety thing we need to address. Other than that, I thought this looked like a pretty decent way to add enough space for more people to work at our hospital. And if we do it pretty much the way it's planned, put in a stop sign, make sure we've got lighted sidewalk for them to walk on, I think we'll have a good development there.
Thank you, Susan. I'd like either the engineer or you or Pierre to answer a couple of these questions. One about, do we know if there is additional lighting on the sidewalk? I looked that up on the one document on a plan. Mine are kind of small and I can't recall. I remember I looked at the landscaping and I did look at the lighting project, and I don't recall. I do recall that they're all shielded lights and that they are architecturally in the design the community prefers. And I just, offhand, I can't recall if there's anything along the sidewalk.
Yeah, there is no additional lighting proposed on Washington. On the improvements on Washington is basically widening the street and putting in the sidewalks. It's about, I would say about 600 feet of improvements. But the lighting is only within the parking lot.
Okay, and there is lighting also, I think, in the Western Slope Health Center's parking lot and the Mormon Church area? In those parking lot areas?
You know, I don't know.
Not sure, okay. Okay. And there was a question about how soon we'd start those traffic counts. Can we be more specific, or do we have a plan on that? In other words, we said 3 months after they start construction or 3 months after they complete?
I think what staff's proposing is 3 months after completion of the improvements. And
Okay.
then the parking lot then is used on a regular basis. Then we would conduct the counts approximately 3 months afterwards.
Okay. And I'm suggesting, when we say looking at traffic counts, Nate, do we also look at traffic alternatives? I mean, besides stop signs and, again, the example was the bulb outs or something to slow the traffic down in that area?
What I would propose is performing an engineering study of the intersection, and it would look at the counts, the geometrics of the intersection, the speeds,
Right.
things of that nature, accident history.
Okay. Carol Patton, you had some additional questions, I believe, or comments? Okay. I will close the public hearing at this time.
There's another fellow who wants to come forward.
Okay. Sorry?
It's quite all right. Larry Robinson again. I had a question. I heard rumor, I wasn't sure if this was where it was being brought up tonight, but I heard there was rumor again to start an ordinance, or if this was part of the ordinance, to stop people from having fences over 3 foot tall in their front yard, or their RVs parked in their front yard and 30 feet.
That is another issue. I believe we're bringing that up at a future date, so if you keep an eye on our website or check with City Hall.
What I missed was, I missed the option, I guess, to make a comment tonight, just a public comment on issues that weren't on the agenda.
Right.
And that's what I would just wanted to do briefly.
Okay, you just did. So we got it.
Well, no, that wasn't my comment.
At this point in time, we're on the hospital issue.
Right.
So if you don't mind, would you wait, and then actually, we have your comments, and we can let you know at a later date or after this issue. We can let you know when that issue is going to come before the City Council again and take a look at the ordinance. We're not looking at an ordinance right now, you know.
What ordinance is that? I mean, so I can reference to it, because I
don't believe there is an ordinance at this point.
Yeah, Vice Mayor Hagan, if I may. At the last Tuesday Planning Commission meeting, the Planning Commission held a workshop on proposed ordinances in regards to the front yard setback and fence height and those kinds of things. But it was only a workshop. There's no proposed ordinance yet that's been developed by staff. Because that's to be considered. So what I think you're looking at is probably an additional workshop for the Planning Commission, and then maybe at some time following that, staff would propose some ordinance changes. It would then go back to the Planning Commission for recommendation, and then it would come to the council. And so you're looking at
about at least 6 months.
6 months, maybe longer.
Maybe a year.
Yeah.
Okay. When would be a time to make a comment about what's been proposed? Because it was proposed before, and I came to this meeting.
At the proposed time would be at the public comment period, at the start of our meetings.
Oh, okay. So I did miss that. Okay.
Yes, you did.
Okay.
And we start at 6 o'clock.
So at what point in your meeting do you open up for public comment?
Right after 6 o'clock.
Right after 6 o'clock?
Yeah.
Okay, so I work in Sacramento, so it's hard for me to get here. I tried.
Well, we
Okay.
certainly will take a written letter.
A written letter?
Yep, written comments are perfect. So,
Vice Mayor?
yes.
Can I also suggest, if Mr. Robinson, if you'd like to get your name and contact information to Mr. Rivas, we can let you know when that item comes up on the Planning Commission agenda, if you'd like to meet with Mr. Rivas over here at the table.
Well, I'll be able to follow your agendas online. Is that possible?
You can do that also, yeah.
So
Yes.
for a workshop program.
It's going to be under the Planning Commission.
Under the Planning Commission.
Right, which every other Tuesday.
Every other Tuesday?
Right, when we're not here, they're here.
Yeah,
Thank
I was just curious as to why it was starting up again after I thought it was settled, you know.
I don't know.
Property rights.
Thank you. Okay, at this point, comments from? Now the public hearing is closed, again.
Well, I'll go ahead because I have a very difficult time when I can't wrap my hands around what we have and what's being asked for, what we already have. And like I was talking about earlier, there's already at least signed 11 parking lots for Marshall campus. And we heard the engineer say, well, there's 558 parking spaces. But I never saw a place that said, okay, in this parking lot, there's this many. Typically, when there's a site plan review, there's an analysis done of how many parking spaces you have, how many you need for the project, and how many you're asking for. And this particular request has none of that. And yet now we're using a space, we're being asked to rezone a property that is currently residential to a business and commercial, so that there can be another satellite lot, which isn't even contiguous with the campus itself. I didn't see anywheres on here where they are. I mean, I heard that they're not proposing to eliminate any parking, and yet Mr. Ray said that they were going to discontinue the shuttle, which utilizes two existing parking lots. So from my perspective, I can't really vote for this because I don't see the need for it. I want to see where they have 500 spaces, but they really need to have 601 spaces, and I didn't even see that anywhere in here. I don't know how many spaces they have. I don't know where all those spaces are. And a master plan, while it would be great, I understand the need for, or how expensive planning is, but this, to me, is not a solution, especially when it comes to the community. There is an issue at Washington and Cedar Ravine, and whether we want to acknowledge it or not, there is an issue there. That's why there's a stop sign going uphill. And to ignore the speed, maybe there's not enough traffic counts, but there is definite speed coming down Cedar Ravine at Washington. So from my perspective, I have a very difficult time with this because I don't see where it has been shown that they need 51 more spaces, because I have no idea what they have, where they have it, and why we need to pave over some more of our residential section already that's up on that hill. So that's my comments.
Ms. Burley?
I'm still having an issue with the road situation, and I really can't see that I can vote for it until I have somebody tell me definitely what the plan is.
Okay. In answer to, what I looked at as far as the replacement parking when the stuff on Main Street is rented from Stansel's, and I believe that there's now a tenant in there, and I'm not sure how much longer they'll be able to keep those lots. So I'm sure the long-range planning for them is to try to replace it. That's my take on it. And I understand that there's a number of employees that park there in the mornings because I see them quite early down there in the shuttle service going back and forth. But I agree that we are lacking some information on part of this. And I would like to suggest that we possibly table this until we can get some additional answers from a parking study or from something. I mean, if you'd like to make that motion, I would support it. Or
And maybe this is a question for staff, would it have to be continued to a date certain? Or would you just say continue until there's a parking analysis and maybe a traffic study?
Minor traffic
analysis done? How would we word that?
I think you could do it either way, continue it to a date certain or until, but I would put a time limit on it because things change.
Within 90 days, maybe?
Yeah, you could do that.
Is that reasonable?
Does that give
from
enough
staff's
time to
perspective?
do a minor traffic study on that?
For clarification then, this would be a parking study. We would come back and answer the questions
Parking and a
regarding.
traffic study.
Yeah, the traffic, we weren't looking at doing a traffic study until after, so.
I understand that, but I think you're hearing a concern that there's already an issue there. And so that's what we're asking, if 90 days would be enough.
One point on that, if you could just continue it up to 90 days, you'll need to renotice the project. That will be the only thing. If you continue it to a date certain, you do not have to renotice the project. So.
Okay. I just don't know. I mean, is that okay? We can just.
Yeah, 90 days.
We can go to a date certain, but it'll depend on how long it takes us to get the traffic study. And the parking analysis, I think, will be actually simpler than the traffic study.
I guess I'd like to ask the engineers how long they feel it take for a minor traffic study on that particular intersection. In other words, could you get it done in 60 days and get the report back to the city so we could move forward in 90 days?
Have a traffic study done in that duration. I guess my question would be, is the goal of the traffic study to show you exactly how many parking spaces we need versus how many we're asking for? I'm not sure what you want us to compare it to.
The traffic study is I think.
I'm referring to the parking study first. I'm sorry.
Okay, so the parking study is how many places,
So,
how many lots you have, and maybe you could break down the lots and how many we're going to replace and where we're going to move them from.
Right.
Because
but is there like a maximum you're looking for us to not exceed? Do you not? I mean, are we looking for?
I would assume the number of employees, you guys know that, or that the hospital should know that, and know about how many spaces they need.
We do, but are you looking for us to meet some sort of parking standard or criteria for the amount of spaces we should have versus, say, how many beds? I'm just trying to understand what you want me to adhere to.
Yeah, there's parking standards for every other business. I can't imagine a hospital doesn't have parking standards. I mean, I don't know that for sure, but
Typically,
retail space
yes.
by square footage and restaurants by tables, that's how much parking you have to have. So
Yes.
there's got to be a formula.
Okay.
And that's what I'd expect to see is how many are you supposed to have? How many do you have? And how are you going to deal with, I believe that there's at least 2 illegal parking areas that are used by Marshall employees. How are you going to deal with those? And so an analysis of what you have, what you're asking, what your needs are, and what you're asking for.
Well, keep in mind that the standards that we're going to be adhering to, they're going to govern the minimum standards. We need a minimum number of parking spaces for this facility. That may not necessarily be representative of the amount of spaces they actually need from day to day, which, I mean, I've been up to Marshall Hospital and it's always full. And so, I mean, it's easy to say, yes, they need more parking, but, you know, I'm not sure if I do a parking study, if it's really going to show you what you want to see. So I just don't know exactly what you want to see in the parking study. Do you want us to more explain, I guess, why they need these additional 51 spaces? I mean, essentially, they have these satellite lots and they're paying for a shuttle service, which is an expense every year, quite a healthy expense. So by eliminating that shuttle service, they can run more efficiently.
And that's all.
Yeah.
Is it all right if I speak?
Sure, go ahead.
In my world, that's all part of an analysis.
Okay.
The analysis is what you have, how much it costs to maintain what you have, and what you're planning to do, and at least the minimum amount of parking that's necessary to run an operation like Marshall Hospital, so that we can then go, okay, well, we see why you want 51 more spaces. I mean, is that clearer for you?
I understand. I understand.
Thank you. And then I think staff could design or let the engineering firm know approximately what we need in the way of the traffic analysis as far as traffic flow and stop sign potential for Washington and Cedar Ravine. And I think we can either do that in-house or we can have the engineering firm address it as part of their plan. And I'm not sure which is appropriate, but I would leave that up to staff to make that call. Yes.
And I understand that the future plans, because with the Clay Street, I understand that, but I'm thinking that 3 months is a heck of a long time to allow this to go, you know, this congestion to go on. A lot of bad things can happen in 3 months. Even, and I don't know whether this is possible, even if we did temporary stop signs until the other report is done. I don't know if that's...
Are you talking about Pacific Street or Washington?
Whichever, the lady came forward with Washington.
Right.
And I'm thinking if that was addressed, that maybe it would slow things down, you know, that maybe it might make Pacific better. I don't know.
No, it's not. That's not going to affect Pacific.
Okay, well, whatever, but I don't want to let it go and say, okay, we'll do that later on.
Okay, so in looking at my calendar, I show 90 days as November 26th meeting. Susan, I'm not sure if that's Thanksgiving week or not, but it's a Tuesday meeting, and I don't recall we've had a problem.
I don't believe that we have any plans to cancel November 26th because we do cancel the second meeting in December.
Okay.
So.
Okay, so typical. Thank you. So
I'll make a motion then that we continue this item to the November 26th meeting in light of a parking analysis and a modified traffic analysis of Washington and Cedar Ravine.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we're on to item 10.2.
Should we go get the mayor?
Yes, if somebody'd like to go get the mayor, please. Thank you, staff, for all that information. Where are we at? Okay, we're on
Okay.
11.1.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Hagan. 11.1, discussion action item, adopt a resolution approving the revised job descriptions for Public Works Maintenance, Mechanic, and Utility Services Specialist. Mr. Morris. This is take two, I believe.
Yes. Thank you, Mayor and Council. You recall at the last meeting, I brought an item before you regarding 4 positions to have modifications. One was actually a new position, which was a Public Works Division Manager. There was also revisions to the Public Works Superintendent position. There were concerns raised by employees regarding that. Council received several letters. And we are still reviewing the need for that and what we need to do with those 2 positions, namely the Public Works Division Manager and the Public Works Superintendent position, and we will be bringing that back to you in the future. The item before you tonight is simply to look at two positions. One is a Public Works Maintenance Mechanic, and you have attached the staff report from the last meeting, which outlined the main changes to that position is simply adding vehicle maintenance to it, which previously it was primarily for maintenance of valves and water and sewer equipment, et cetera. So we've added vehicle maintenance to that. As you recall, in the budget we proposed and was approved to make this a full-time position, where currently it's being handled on a part-time basis. That is the only major changes to that position. The second position, the Utility Services Technician, was previously outlined as our Water Service Specialist. We are changing the title and simply adding some minor duties regarding wastewater, where currently that position only handles water issues. And so we've revised it to reflect that it also helps us with wastewater issues, primarily due to spills and et cetera, where we need testing, et cetera, that this position has qualifications for. So we're bringing this back to you. We have spoken to the union who had concerns before about the 4 positions. They have agreed that they do not have those concerns with these 2 positions and are okay with us moving forward with these at this time. So I'm requesting that you adopt the staff report, which will adopt a resolution approving the revised job descriptions for these 2 positions, and simply note that we will be bringing back the other 2 positions in the near future to you.
Thank you. Does council have any questions for staff? Vice Mayor Hagan, we'll start with you. No? Okay. I do have one quick question, Cleve. Under the discussion, it says the job descriptions now indicate that these positions will report to the Director of Community Services rather than the Public Works Division Manager, since that position is not yet adopted. Will that likely change?
It could,
okay.
depending on the format in which we bring back that other position to you.
Okay.
We're looking at some options there, and so that may not be, it may stay this way, so, but we'll see.
All right,
So.
all right, great. With that, we'll open up for public comment. Would anyone like to speak to this item? No? No, Stan? Okay, okay. All right. With that, we'll close. With that, we'll close public comment and bring it back to the council for action. And I'd just like to, before we do that, make a final note. I'd like to, to impress upon everyone that, it is Cleve's job to direct city staff, and it is that is your department to make sure that our city is running efficiently, and it's not our job as a council to micromanage, and it's our job just to make sure you're doing your job, which you certainly are. So thank you for dealing with this issue. I know it's tricky, and once again, I just wanted to clarify that for people.
This time I'd like to move staff recommendation and note that this has been and is in our budget that we adopted a couple of months ago. So.
Second.
Been moved by Vice Mayor Hagan, seconded by Council Member Borelli. And with all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Motion carries. With that, we are on item 12, council reports and requests for future agenda items. We'll start with, to my left, Vice Mayor Hagan.
None at this time.
No. Councilmember Borelli?
I was rather slow this month. I went to a community breakfast that hosted by Senator Gaines, and it was well represented. It was kind of a social affair, really. I mean, you meet, so many folks from all over. But anyway, it was very nice. And Wendy and I attended the 2x2 county city meeting, and I went to the Board of Supervisors where they did the SACOG presentation, which Carl kind of was there introducing it.
I guess, yes, that's correct.
And I attended a CDAC meeting.
Thank you. Councilmember Patton?
I've been on vacation.
Good for you.
But at this time, I would like to actually publicly wish my son, who turns 30 today, a very happy birthday.
Wow.
Doesn't seem possible.
Yeah.
My goodness. My goodness.
Got married at
And
10,
you're only
I know.
39.
Yeah.
There's two things that I'd like to bring up. We are busy at work on the Main Street Matters program. We're still information is still trickling in from Benjamin Moore and the partners. I think they're really kind of figuring this all out too. And I have to take my hat off to Lisa Crummett of the Placerville Downtown Association. She is our lead representative, our main point of contact for this program. And she's doing a fantastic job working with a very small group, but asking the right questions to the Main Street Moore, Benjamin Moore Main Street Matters representatives. And the answer we're getting is, we'll get back to you on that. Good question, we'll get back to you on that. We'll get back to you on that. So they have one more city to visit, that's Hawaii this week. And so they are still...
It'll take them 2 weeks.
Yeah, it'll still coordinating their team. So no new news to report, just that we are busy at work on that, and currently we are compiling business owners and building owner names and contact information. And believe it or not, we had no list anywhere of who a business owner was with their phone number, plus the property owner with their phone number. And because Benjamin Moore will be coordinating directly with both of the parties. So
we were hoping you'd be quicker.
Yeah, listen, pardon, I'm talking. This is important information. We're getting our town painted. So Benjamin Moore will be contacting both the business owners and the property owners directly. So I'm almost done with that list. So that'll be good to have.
Now, can I say a few
No,
things?
you can't. I'm not done.
Oh.
Finally.
Okay, kids.
I'd like to remind everyone that on September 10th, we have a busy council meeting that day, I know, and we are swearing in our new police chief. But at 10 o'clock at the Board of Supervisors, we are going before the Board of Supervisors for a Hangtown Haven workshop to see about a county site for Hangtown Haven. So it's a big day, and we're working on our presentation. And if you support that, or if it's an issue that you're interested in, 10 o'clock at the Board of Supervisors meeting on September 10th. Now, Vice Mayor Hagan, would you like to say a few words?
Yeah, you got me messed up with that.
You've been talking all night.
Adding that thing on there. Two things. One is on August 6th, myself and Ron Briggs sent a letter to Assemblyman Bigelow regarding infrastructure and transportation infrastructure needs for the county as well as the city. So there was some stuff that was done from just one agency of the county, and we've gone ahead and gone beyond that to make sure we included all of the current stuff on the 20-year horizon, all of the projects. And we are setting a meeting up with Assemblyman Bigelow's office, and myself, Sharon Swinsinger, the CEO, none of the supervisors, and then members from the Tahoe Regional Planning or Transportation Plans up there from the county, and then somebody from the Tahoe Metropolitan Planning Association. We'll all meet with him about the same time, so he's got an idea what's happening or what we can do in the El Dorado County. I also had a SACOG meeting. I'm going to go back and apologize, I didn't have this earlier. Our last meeting was the 13th, and on the 14th I had the meeting with Senator Gaines and other community leaders down in El Dorado Hills that morning. On the 15th I had a SACOG meeting at 9:30 in the morning, and then on the 20th we had the SACOG presentation of the Board of Supervisors to the Board of Supervisors on the blueprint, which is the City of Placerville has participated in. I think we had a Hangtown Haven meeting on the 22nd, and that kind of typical week. But anyway, that was the main thing I wanted to bring out. And then along this thing, we are communicating with Assemblyman Bigelow on future transportation funding and issues, because that is not only a big deal in the state of California, but the MAP 21 plan. At the federal level, our transportation funding dollars are obviously being cut, and hopefully this year they'll come up with a new plan for the next 6-year round that would include additional funding.
Isn't that for like maintenance more?
No, that's just
to try to get more for maintenance, or to convince them that we need it for more maintenance instead of...
It's just to be clarifying about all the projects
everything?
we have, including maintenance. Okay. So it includes it as well as the stuff down the road. So we don't miss some of that, and we don't he has a partial list. We want to make sure he has a complete list of
okay.
everything that's needed.
And Wendy, the
Yes.
issue on the 10th, is that time sensitive?
It is time sensitive.
At what time?
10 o'clock.
At
10
10.
a.m.
Yeah, 10 a.m. Thank you. Thank you, Vice Mayor Hagan. Appreciate you being on top of that. All right, with that, we move to items pulled from the consent calendar. Item 8.11, severance agreement with Interim Police Chief Mike Scott. So, Mr. Morris.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As you know, when we reorganized our police department last spring, we went to a two-person command staff. And at that time, we have been in discussions with Captain Mike, or Interim Chief Mike Scott, excuse me, Mike, regarding his retirement and when he would look at doing that. Ultimately, he would have been going, I think, till next May, right? Mike is when he turns 50, and he was planning on retiring. However, there are some issues that we've discussed, and he at this time has approached us and we've talked together, and he's approached PERS regarding a disability retirement that he would apply for and go out on. Actually, he has already, I think, put in his application for that, and we're working on the details of that. And so in regards to that, we worked out a severance agreement with him. One of the issues was that he brought to our attention was the fact that at the beginning of his career, he worked for 2 years for the city as a reserve officer and various duties reserve officer. He also worked part of that time, I believe, Mike, you said, as a, I'm sorry, I shouldn't call it a meter maid, but parking enforcement. Thank you. And he did that, but approximately 2 years of that. And it's not uncommon, and times it's eligible for employees to purchase that time as PERS eligible service time. It is not possible now because of new PERS regulations for someone like me to go back and say, well, I want to purchase 2 more years or 5 more years of service time. You could do that in the past, but they've eliminated that option now. The only way that he is able to do that is because of that reserve time is time that is eligible for purchase as far as service time. And so we discussed and negotiated this agreement which would allow asking the city to pay for that service time up to the 2 years. Now, the original agreement that was in your packet, the reason this was pulled, looked at that cost being approximately $15,000, and that's what we originally thought it was. And that's the number that was put in the original agreement. After further analysis and Mike meeting with them, they've determined that it's going to be approximately $18,000. And so he has requested, and I've recommended that we raise that amount to $18,000, and that's what the new agreement shows that is before you tonight. It would be up to $18,000. If it turns out to be less than that, it would be less. If it's more than that, Mike would need to pick up the difference of that amount. There are also some other changes that our city attorney worked with Mike on, and I'll allow, I'm going to ask John to talk about those other changes in the agreement.
Thank you, Cleve. Most of the other changes are just additional language clarifying some of the language that was already in there. For example, in the first whereas clause, we changed resign to retire, and excuse me, listed as the cause the result of an industrial accident. Since the application has already been made, we changed the fourth whereas clause to use the word applied, has applied rather than desires to. In paragraph Arabic 3, the only change there is that it originally said that the city would cooperate with Captain Scott, or Interim Chief Scott, with respect to his disability retirement application. This further indicates that we would not oppose it. In fact, one of the actions that was taken by the council tonight is in furtherance of that on the consent calendar. And as the city manager mentioned, the change from 15 to 18,000. But also it should be made clear, and was made clear in one of the revisions, that if CalPERS does not for some reason grant the disability retirement, that the terms of this agreement and its provisions are null and void. So there would be no payment of the money to CalPERS, and everything else in this agreement would be declared null and void. The other changes that were in here are with regards to paragraphs, what were formerly paragraphs 11, 12, and 17. Those paragraphs related to just what I call an omnibus or blanket waiver of any claims, rights, etc., that in this case Mr. Scott would have had. In discussing it with Mike, one of the concerns is that he may have a physical condition, and I'm not saying that he does, and we don't know that, and God willing he doesn't, that would show up after he retires and be related to his work as a police officer, and this would allow him not to make any comp claim, for example, for that, should such a valid circumstance arise. I was comfortable with deleting those provisions. The provisions that I was most concerned with that we have in here are the provisions regarding age discrimination and disability discrimination. Mike unfortunately falls into a category where age discrimination could be applied, as well as the issue with his existing comp injury. So I wanted to make it clear that there be no claims regarding either disability or age discrimination, and I'm very comfortable with the agreement with those provisions in there and the rest of it, which we have eliminated.
Thank you, City Attorney Driscoll.
A couple other points that I want to make. This means that Mike will be retiring, as mentioned. The set date right now, as long as everything goes through as planned, is September 20th rather than May. So there's cost savings in terms of us paying this money for the additional service time. There is definitely cost savings that we're realizing by this. In addition, one of the things that the agreement outlines is, as you know, we pay for retiree health. It wouldn't kick in for Mike until age 53, but we pay for retiree health, and I want to say that's about $600 a month. Dave, is that close? Approximately, almost $700. Mike has waived his right to that, so that's an additional savings that we will be realizing going forward. So I think it will easily pay for itself in terms of if that was a concern.
All right, thank you. Does council have any additional questions for staff on this matter?
No, I just would like, John, would you reiterate what you said about the comp?
If Mike, for example, sorry Mike, but if Mike 3 days after he retired had a heart attack, that could very well be attributable, because there is a presumption, especially with heart attacks and public safety employees, would be attributable to his employment. Had he waived all claims, he would not be able to do anything about that. He would have no recovery rights for workers' compensation, for example, should something like that happen. That was part of the reason why we took out that omnibus waiver that was in there.
But that's not a city obligation. Or
Well,
yes.
Workers' comp.
So,
We,
but I
we,
thought, okay.
we participate in a,
And I understand that,
Okay.
but I thought what Cleve just said about
That's
the
medical.
That's two separate issues.
medical insurance, yes, that's separate.
On medical
All right.
insurance,
Yeah,
yes.
that's
Okay.
separate.
All right, thank you. Does any member of the public wish to speak on this matter? We'll bring it back to the council for discussion, and before we do that, I just have a final comment. Just like to recognize Interim Chief Scott for your 28 years of outstanding service to our city, and it's hard to believe that you are retiring, and you've really appreciate the help that you've given us during this time of transition, which has been a tricky time, and appreciate your efforts there, as well as the tremendous progress you've made at Benham Park, and reinstating the mandatory service for our officers in the schools, which is making a lasting impression. So just really appreciate your service. I wanted to recognize that. So.
I'll move we approve the severance agreement with Interim Police Chief Mike Scott.
Second.
It's been moved by Vice Mayor Hagan and seconded by Council Member Borelli. And with that, do we need a roll call vote? Yes. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Borelli.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Hagan.
Aye.
Councilmember Patton.
Aye.
Mayor Thomas.
Aye. Thank you. All right. And with that, we're on item 14, City Manager and Staff Reports.
I don't have anything further. I don't think any of my staff does either, so we can move on from that item.
All right. Our next meeting is scheduled for September 10th, and it looks like it's going to be a whopper so far. We have a second reading of the park ordinance, the Marshall rezone ordinance, fire code ordinance, billboards, police officers association MOU, oath of office to a new chief of police, Herrick building, sign hearing, proclamation regarding Constitution Week, and probably some other things we can throw in there. So with that, oh,
Yeah,
Mark
take
stretch?
off Marshall.
Oh, I didn't know that. Sorry. Scratch off the Marshall.
It got continued. so.
Oh, sorry, I was in the back. Okay. And with that, we will adjourn to the next regular city council meeting on September 10th, 5 p.m. closed session, 6 p.m. regular session. And with that, good night, Placerville.